This is a breaking news alert. Donald Trump has just filed a $10 billion frivolous lawsuit against CBS, alleging that CBS did deceptive doctoring of Vice President Kamala Harris's interview. This was an interview that Donald Trump refused to do after being embarrassed in 2020 on that interview with Leslie Stahl, where Donald Trump brought a fake healthcare plan that had all blank pages. Well, Donald Trump picked $10 billion. He just makes up these numbers. He filed it in the Northern District of Texas federal court before a judge by the name of Matthew Kaczmarek. Now, Matthew Kaczmarek is a hack judge. He's like a Judge Eileen Cannon, a very corrupt federal judge, where all the MAGAs are now filing their lawsuits because this federal judge does all the corrupt things that they want him to do for them. So that's why Donald Trump's picking the Northern District of Texas Amarillo division, because he's the only judge there where it'll get assigned. And this is Donald Trump's way of forum shopping and trying to, again, rip our legal system to shreds. This is some really insane stuff when you look at this lawsuit. This is what it says in the lawsuit. By the way, there's no basis to the lawsuit, as improper, frivolous, and vexatious as you get. Donald Trump writes in this lawsuit, the action concerns CBS's partisan and unlawful acts of election and voter interference through malicious, deceptive, and substantial news distortion calculated to confuse, deceive, and mislead the public, and B, attempt to tip the scales in favor of the Democratic Party as the heated 2024 presidential election, which Trump is leading, approaches its conclusion in violation of Texas business law, which subjects false, misleading, or deceptive acts or practices in the conduct of any trade or commerce. Donald Trump is not leading, by the way. It goes on to say, from the moment the Democratic Party establishment ousted Joe Biden in an unprecedented and anti-democratic political coup and installed Vice President Kamala Harris as their replacement candidate, ignoring the will of their primary voters who cast 0 votes for Kamala, CBS and other legacy media organizations have gone into overdrive to get Kamala elected, notwithstanding Kamala's well-documented deep unpopularity. Even with her own party, these organizations have tried to falsely recast her as the candidate of joy, whitewashed her lengthy record of policy failures, and painted over her repeated disqualifying gaps. Therefore, it says in the request for relief, Donald Trump is requesting $10 billion for this. Again, just think about the grievances and whiny nature as he concludes his very desperate campaign right here, suing someone for $10 billion as Vice President Kamala Harris talks about what she can do, unifying American people, bringing people together, policies. This is the crap that Donald Trump is doing. Not only is this incredibly frivolous in the nature of this suit itself, but it's part of Donald Trump's broader plan to claim fraud and whine when he loses. When this news story broke, I was live on the air with Michael Cohen. Let me show you that moment where I tell Michael Cohen about it, because you'll recall Donald Trump filed a $500 million frivolous case against Michael Cohen in Florida. When Michael Cohen then requested Donald Trump's deposition, Donald Trump delayed, was ordered to the deposition, and then dismissed the case. He was too afraid to show up to the deposition when he was called by Michael Cohen. Donald Trump's recalibrated this strategy to try to file it before a corrupt judge who's a MAGA judge. Folks, this is what Donald Trump does, and he's showing you who he is right before the election. Let's just call in where I speak with Michael Cohen. I want to show you that. Let's play it. I just got this breaking news update, and I had to read it a few times to internalize it. So Donald Trump just filed a lawsuit against CBS News. This is breaking right now over the wire, for $10 billion, alleging that CBS deceptively doctored an interview with Vice President Kamala Harris on 60 Minutes. They gave the exclusive to Fox on this story. But yes, Donald Trump has filed, just moments ago, a $10 billion lawsuit, which is, as you know, he makes up these numbers. And I want to talk about your experience here, Michael Cohen, and get your reaction to it as well. Donald Trump sues CBS for $10 billion alleging deceptive doctoring. This is the interview that Donald Trump was too scared to do. You'll recall with Leslie Stahl in 2020, Donald Trump literally ran away from the interview. That's when he was also trying to show Leslie his healthcare plan. Do you remember? It was
I remember
binders of blank pages, actual blank page binders. And she goes, there's nothing on them. He ran away. He ran away. So he refuses to do the interview. She does the interview. There's no doctoring at all. There's no basis for this lawsuit at all. But what does he want? The headline. Now, it doesn't need further analysis. But here's the thing. I want to bring it to your story, though, because not so long ago, Donald Trump, same tactics. As I said, he has a few moves. He sued you for $300 to $500 million. He sued you for, made all of these outrageous claims, defamed you, but did it through a legal document so he could try to hide behind it and go, well, I just put it in a legal document, so I get all of this immunity.
I can't talk about it. It's part of a lawsuit.
Part of a lawsuit.
But the lawsuit stands on its face for $500 million, yada, yada. How lucky is CBS? I tell you, they're extremely lucky, especially if Trump loses the election. Because what they need to immediately do is exactly what my lawyers, Danya Perry, did on that Florida case. What they immediately need to do is not even to file an answer, move for discovery in lieu of the answer, and then immediately request a deposition, an EBT, of Donald Trump. He's not going to show for that, as he didn't for mine. So what did we do? We made a court order requesting that the court demand that Trump appear for the deposition. And the first one we got, and literally two or 3 days before the deposition date, his lawyer now was unable to appear. And so we went back to court, and we got the court again to order a court-ordered deposition of Trump. If not, they were going to hold him in contempt. It's a 4 to 6 month process. It's expensive. It costs a fortune. I still owe money to the lawyers on it. I had set up this whole GoFundMe in order to pay the lawyers. That's a whole nother nightmare for a whole nother show. But this is what he does. So CBS now is going to have to retain, unless they have lawyers on staff to handle a $10 billion claim. The benefit to them, knowing, especially if Trump loses this campaign, if he loses the presidential election, not only will they end up getting him, as they did on mine, the opportunity to dismiss the case, but they could potentially sue him for malicious prosecution. But they're going to have to do that before he ends up dropping the case, because if he drops the case, then there is no action that they can bring against Trump for fees.
You know, your process, correct. Your process was, I remember, so Donald Trump files the case and you're like, look, this is frivolous, but sit for a deposition, Donald. So I will test your allegations. You've got your headline that you wanted. Now we're in court.
Yep.
Show up at your deposition. Donald Trump then says, I'm too busy that day. We need to move it. Okay, move it. Let's take your deposition. I can't make it that day. Okay, I'm not going to be fooled again. You go to court. You say, court, order him to sit for a deposition. He tries to pull out of it right before. The court's basically like, you're going to have to show up. He does it again. The court's like, one more strike and you're out. And then right before he was about to get terminating sanctions against him, Donald Trump dismisses the case against you, but he does it without prejudice so that he can try to claim that, oh, well, I could bring it again in the future. Meanwhile, your life, as you mentioned, you've got to hire the lawyers. You got to go through this process. You get all of the hate from all of his people again. That gets ratcheted up. And he does that to intimidate you and people like you so that you don't criticize him. He picks a number out of thin air, 10 billion, because he knows 10 billion gets a headline, 500 million gets a headline. And then he loses these cases while his lawyer, Alina Habba, runs around, prancing around on stages, gyrating, dancing with MAGA necklaces and MAGA jackets, which is an abomination to our legal system. It is a travesty in all aspects that this sexual abuser in Donald Trump, this freaking felon, this vexatious litigant, and his ilk like Alina Habba and people who support him do this to America. We the people. I mean, look at this. How do they do this to our beautiful country? And I think about Donald Trump changing the American flag and putting the freaking Trump name on the American flag or MAGA flags, our national anthem being changed. You know, I think about all those days at Georgetown Law when I was studying every night, loving our Constitution. And I remember the big cans of Red Bulls. I'd take the 20-ounce Red Bulls and I'd study until 3 a.m. and I'd be reading 60 pages of tort, 60 pages of contracts, 60 pages of property law every night and thinking, how could I better this system? How could I improve this system? And to see Donald Trump and his ilk just take our fucking Constitution and rip it up and throw it to the fucking ground makes me livid. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 4 million subscribers together.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.